All right, it is 5 after the hour, and we're going to get started. Welcome to our introduction to Faelon. Thank you for joining us. We're very sad that we can't be out there in Indianapolis with you all, but hope you're staying home and staying safe. And this is how we're doing things this year. So we're here at DGS headquarters with our team. My name is Matt Gooch, and I work for DGS. I am also here with Matt, Jen, Julie, and John. And I'm going to turn it over to John here in just a second, but I wanted to say hello and thank you for joining us. John is going to give us some information about the world of Faelon and the new platform that we're putting our information on called World Anvil. And then we're going to turn it over to Julie, and Julie's going to run us through a turn of our game, Free Blades. So again, thank you for joining us. We're happy to have you here. We've got some really cool information and some great deals for you. And without further ado, let's turn it over to John.
Greetings out there. My name's John Cleves. I'm the lead designer for DGS Games. As Matt said, here at DGS headquarters with all of our partners. And I'm going to take you through the world of Faelon today by showing you who we are, how to reach our content, what new things are happening, and a whole bunch of information about how to interact with our games and the background behind them. We're going to start with our website, and so the stream that I'm running is the one that shows currently the Free Blades logo is up. It shows our website dgsgames.com, and I'm going to be moving around that, showing you things on it to start. So that's the stream you want to feature in Discord if you want to follow along with me. So who we are: DGS Games is a company that makes a game set in a fantasy world called Faelon. We're going to teach you all about that today. If you don't know anything about it, that's fine. And this is how you initially encounter us generally is through our website. Everybody has one. And there's a lot of things going on here, but there's just 3 or 4 things we want to point out to help you get to the content you want based on the games of ours that you want to play and how you want to play them. And so we're starting off with the website. We make game rules and the models with which to play those games on the tabletop, and content to support that gaming, either because it's background or it's expanded gameplay support. So we're going to show you all those different aspects here today. We're going to start with how you interact with us. We have all kinds of social media platforms we work on. There's a social media tab on our website that takes you through all the different ones. And today we're all using Discord. That's how we're talking to each other. If you've got a question about anything I talk about or Julie does later on when we get to her portion, we'll pause for questions, but there's also a number of text channels on Discord, and the hashtag #AllThingsFaelon is the one that would be easiest to ask a question, because other team members are monitoring that will be able to alert us if a question comes up. But I will periodically pause, and people can do it by voice also. That's totally cool. So there's all kinds of ways to interact with us, and here on our social media portion of our website are all those different ways. It's pretty self-explanatory, all the social media platforms. And obviously you found us on one because you're here with us on Discord. But what we really want to show you here, we make games and the models and gameplay support that go with those games. Since it's a business, there's obviously a shop. And inside that shop are the things that I want to start you out pointing out to you. We make currently 2 games. We intend to make a number of games, but we only make 2 right now. The first is called Free Blades, which is a 32 millimeter fantasy skirmish game. 32 millimeter because that's the scale of the models. And we'll show you some of those. And we're going to reference the Free Blades Living Rulebook sometimes, so I wanted to show you that. It is a $10 download off of our website. But this weekend, we have a couple of promotions. Julie is streaming the promotion coupon codes on our website URL. She's going to reference that in the future also during her portion. So you'll be able to get this rulebook for free, the Living Rulebook to Free Blades. So as we talk about that, if that's where your interest lies and you don't have one yet, it is a regularly updated, hyperlinked PDF, interactive PDF. You buy it here this weekend. If you have the coupon code, you buy it here for free, and you never have to pay for it again because it is constantly updated. and the updates will automatically be posted to your account here on dgsgames.com. And so if I pick up Free Blades Living Rulebook 20-2 for free this weekend because I have my coupon code, when we make either 20-3 or 21-1, whichever is next, it will automatically go to your account, and all those social media platforms will blast out with, go to your account, pick up your new copy with additional models, stats, talents, additional scenarios, whatever we put into the next version. You won't have to do anything but go and download it. You won't pay for it again. We don't do editions here at DGS Games. The picture next to it is the Free Blades Learn to Play. That is a small, in terms of page count, physical rule book that you can buy either from us on the website here for $10 and it'll be mailed to you. It's not a PDF. It's a physical printed copy that allows somebody to get into the game of Free Blades very, very quickly. It takes all the starter boxes of models and turns them into more scaled down rules-wise stat lines, so you can jump into the game with only a couple of spells, a couple of talents, very basic rules, no campaign rules, no extra faction rules, etc., and get right into the game very, very quickly and give our retail partners a physical rulebook presence on the shelf. If you're an experienced Free Blades player, you'd only need that if you wanted to use it to bring new players into the game, but it is a good resource for that. And a lot of our, especially our alpha gamers that are running groups that are, putting on Free Blades events, have that handy, but it's also going to be in the retail space. But just the difference is physical rulebook. The living rulebook is a PDF you download from here on the website. The other game we make can currently be found by going to the download section of the website, and that is called Brightsword. It is in open playtest at the moment. It's not going to last very long. You see some other download categories for additional support to your Free Blades gameplay, but here under open playtest is the Brightsword Living Rulebook Beta. And I'm going to show you how we're not going to do Brightsword, our role-playing game, the same way we're doing the Free Blades rulebook in the future. But right now, if you want a copy, you can get it for free. It's in beta test, so it doesn't cost you anything. And download it right here, along with a couple of other additional ways to play our games that are also in playtest. So if you're looking for the role-playing game, you go here to this link, and you'll download that PDF. An interactive PDF just like the Free Blades Living Rulebook, but it won't stay in that form. And I'm going to tell you what form it goes into here shortly. Also, because we make these games so that you can play them 3D on the tabletop with models, we have a whole range of 32 millimeter figures for the different characters and creatures that are in Faelon. It's separated here in the store by faction, although creatures aren't a faction, but as a category of models. And we're going to highlight just a couple, but we're going to do that by also, tooting our horn a little bit. We get a lot of compliments because we are models that are made proportionally to typical anatomy of a person, and we don't treat our female models as objects. They are dressed the way female adventurers would be dressed sensibly and intelligently when they're out adventuring or doing battle or what have you. And we feel really good about the number of people that come up to us, either comment online or come up to us at the booth at a convention and say, I really appreciate that your female characters are ones we can identify with. And that is a thing we want to carry into models of different ethnic backgrounds, models of different body sizes. We're very proud of that and we'll have to show it off. This is also where you would purchase those models if you don't have a retailer to go to. You can get everything that we make here online. And in the Free Blades game, where you fight as a skirmish force and you gather your models up based on their point value, we have assembled these starter boxes that allow you to get directly into the game with 6 or 7 models that are all a standard 150 gold free band for the Free Blades game. And also this weekend, the starter boxes are being promoted at 20% off. And that coupon code is also going to be available in the stream that Julie is showing from her position, and she will go over it with you again during her portion of the seminar. And so you can get your living rulebook for free, and a starter box or 2 for 20% off, and be getting this game in a very inexpensive way if you're new to us and Skirmish Gaming is your thing. So that's the website. That is the 2 games that we make. One is a tabletop miniature skirmish game. The other is a role-playing game. We're going to tell you more about them as we go, but they are both set in the world of Faelon, and it's the world of Faelon that we want to highlight this weekend. And the way you find out about the world of Faelon, if you don't remember anything that any of us told you today, which is fine. It's hard to remember some of this stuff, just you're hearing it. It's all coming at you out of a fire hose. If you remember one thing, how to access all the elements of the world of Faelon is at this World of Faelon tab on the website, dgsgames.com. And what it does is tell you what the world of Faelon is and how to get to the various aspects of it. The world of Faelon is a constructed world that our stories and our characters and our games are set in, that is housed in the platform known as World Anvil. World Anvil is a platform that's out there for anybody to use. It's not owned by or executed by DGS Games. They have their own company, their own presence, and we are partners with them in hosting all of our World of Faelon information on the World Anvil platform. So you have to go to World Anvil to get this information. It's not directly attached to our website. That link is right there in the middle of the page. World of Faelon and World Anvil, that will take you straight there. If you want to know more about the different tiers of access, they're explained here. One, besides the stuff that's free, one level is tied to being a Free Blades player. You can get that tier without paying any money because you have a living rulebook. And this weekend, as I point out, you get a coupon code. You don't pay for the living rulebook either. So to you, that would all be free also. And that explains that. We'll go into that more as we go along. There are 2 other tiers. There's more coming. And those are accessed by becoming patrons of us on our Patreon. And I will get into more detail as we go along. But if you forget everything, you can always come back to this page and it will explain everything to you and give you the links you need to get to that level of access. So no need to memorize it. No need to worry about this. Remember to go back to the World of Faelon link and all that will be made simple. If you went to World Anvil and searched the word Faelon and went to the Faelon world, you would come to this page. I'm going to double check and make sure that it is showing the screen, which it is. And okay, so at this point, before I go on to the World of Faelon, I've left our website. Anybody have any questions of me before we go any further? Okay, I'm going to move on. So we're in the World of Faelon as part of World Anvil. You can see here that Faelon, part of DGS Games, is on the World Anvil website, worldanvil.com, up here in the URL bar. And this is the homepage of the World of Faelon. There's a text description of what is does not look right. We're going to refresh that screen real quick. Still not looking right. There we go. We'll do it this way. Just one second. Bear with me. Okay, we are back. Just had a couple of refreshes on the screen, took care of that problem where the chapters were overlaying on top of the text. So this is the World of Faelon homepage. Text description of the World of Faelon and our 2 games, Brightsword and Free Blades. Brightsword is a role-playing game. Free Blades is a skirmish game. And this is the one key way to navigate around all the information in the World of Faelon. We call these book covers. And you can click on these book covers and go to those categories. We're going to come back to them in just a moment. Here's a link to Patreon. I told you earlier that the Lore Master and Bladesworn levels of access ask you to become a patron of ours on Patreon. And this is a link to go there. We'll go there in a moment and take a look at that. But I want to show you where Faelon is and what it looks like. This is a map of the world right here in the bottom center of the World of Faelon page. We'll click on that. And that takes us to a world map, and the world map has got pins on it for each of the major factions. And so if I go choose one of these pins and I click on it, it will take me to the article about the realm of Trillius or the article about the kingdom of Herodel. And so I can get familiar with where these factions are in relation to each other using this map. And I can zoom in, zoom out. I can go to layers. Can I change? No, pins are going to be there, so that's good. So sometimes the factions aren't countries. They are organizations or groups of people that aren't a nation. The Eclipse Sisterhood is a rebel group. These are bandits, basically a criminal network. This is where the demons generally enter the world, but not just as this one location, but primarily this location. So some of our factions are not nations. They are some other type of actor, and we differentiate them here with the way the pins look. If we go back to that home page, this World of Faelon map has a hex grid overlaid on it for those who want to play out campaigns where location matters. And we want to describe exactly where a force or a person or some other element is located. If you zoom in this map, we have a hex grid so you can control movement of different actors and objects. And each of them has a coordinate system where I can say, I'm in hex 060051. Some campaigns like to be run that way. We want to give our players all the different options. You can also set up a map campaign where certain locations have different values. If my free band interacts with or captures the towers of the moon, hex 048053, then I could give them a Benny in the game, or however you want to manage your campaign. So this is also available to you. That's the World of Faelon from a geography, topography standpoint. So here are the different ways to dive into the background. And it is not just for role players. There's information here that benefits both the players of the skirmish game and the players of the role-playing game. But a great deal of information is for both who just want to understand the world better. They're interested in the lore and the background. This might be less interesting to you if you were just someone who likes to play the game or into the mechanics or some other aspect of the game that has nothing to do with the background. But if you want to know what's going on, the good news is it is a relational database. And we're going to show you some of the power of that through navigating around here for a few minutes. So we've looked at the maps. That's how Faelon looks as a geography, as a world from a physical standpoint. These are the people and things that are in it. If I want to differentiate between the different races and cultures that are World of Faelon, that's what this book for, or their religions, the organizations, the factions that are not countries, the Eclipse Sisterhood, the Black Rose Bandits, those kinds of folks will be here. The creatures that exist in the world that aren't humanoid, the countries themselves, all the different countries, the different kinds of magic and why magic is the way it is, the paths, which are our like character classes or professions, exploring what those mean and how they relate to both games. In the background of the World of Faelon, one central concept is that the person that you're generally representing in the game, if you are a player of one of our games, you are a free blade, an adventurer for hire. And these free blades group up into free bands. That's your adventuring party. And what makes our game Free Blades different than some other skirmish games, fantasy skirmish games, is that our sides in a game of Free Blades aren't military units. They're basically role-playing or adventuring parties. And so what they're doing out in the world is they are going and interacting with the world on behalf of some patron who sent them out there to accomplish a task, to have an adventure, to go on a quest, as opposed to two squads of troops meeting and battling it out, kill or be killed. We have a battle game coming. That's not the core nature of Free Blades. So you have a free band that is your role-playing party, a leader, kind of, fighter figure, a caster. There might be some rogues, some rangers, some all the different sort of archetypes you recognize. In our terms, those are these paths here: blade, mask, scroll, coin, horn, and wheel. But you'll recognize the things that you see in there if you're a role player. But you can express it as a miniature skirmish game. You can express it as a role-playing game. You can combine the two and move back and forth between the two. And that is one of the things that is, if we're sitting at the booth at a convention and someone comes up and says, give me a 1-minute pitch on why you're different. The reason why we think we're different here in DGS Games in our world of Faelon is because our game systems are all connected so that you can move your characters and your stories from game system to game system with as much ease as it can be created. And we're going to show you a little bit of that as we move through this. So your skirmish game can be your battle for your role-playing game. Your role-playing game character can come out of the role-playing game and be converted into a leader of one of your skirmish free bands. That character could grow into a captain and lead your company in free captains, which is our battle game coming down the road. You could take that character and enter in a cooperative board game that we're planning on making down the road after having gained some experience, and then leave that and go back into either skirmish, role-playing, etc. So being able to move your characters and your stories throughout the different modes of play is one of the things that we intend to make us different from other companies. The people cover is just what it says, the non-player characters and people in the background and their stories, magic items and artifacts are of significance, different stories that tell from just a single story fiction standpoint, explain more of the background and tell more of the nature of these characters and develop these characters. Behind the Fourth Wall is all about us. If you're interested in DGS and its history and who's in it, who was in it, who's going to be in it, what we've done and where we're going, that's what the Behind the Fourth Wall book cover does. All of the scenarios from the game Free Blades are here as a category. I'm going to show you why that is here in a moment, but it's another way to access them. Yes, they're in the living rule book, but there might be a reason why you want to access them directly here, and we make that possible. The locations is those places that are in the world that we develop to different degrees over time. Eventually, every single place in Faelon will be, explained to the nth degree, all the different actors that are in them, all the different natures of those locations, and we are building that as we go. I don't know what the current count of articles we've added is since we launched. I think it's something like 90, but I don't know.
It was 55 today.
Say again?
55 just today.
55 today. So 55 different articles were added today to the World of Faelon. I think that's probably a spike. I don't think it's 55 every day. But what it means is we're never going to stop. So if you become a follower of the World of Faelon at whatever subscription level, from free through Lore Master and beyond, you're going to be getting content constantly. We launched on 24 June. Pretty sure a day hasn't gone by where we haven't added something to the world. So you're going to get your bang for your buck. We're going to do a little exploration of the World of Faelon using the campaigns book cover because it shows you in the simplest way, the easiest way possible, the power of what having your world built in a relational database does for you. So we're going to go into the campaigns book cover. There are currently 2 campaigns that are available in the World of Faelon, more being added all the time. One is coming right up here in August, but these are the ones that are currently existing there. The Fiend of the Forest is the basic get to know us, everybody has access to it campaign, and the Tomb of Akshad is more along the lines of what the future campaigns will be, where you can get a setting and a set of scenarios and maps and NPCs and loot that allows you to tell a story-based campaign rather than just playing a one-off game. And we're going to use the Tomb of Akshad to kind of explore that. So you have a table of contents over here on the left for all the campaigns, the main campaign name and all of our scenes. You can also go directly to them through these tabs. We're going to choose the Tomb of Akshad. Campaigns will have a similar structure to them. They will show you a region map and place the campaign's location in context in the appropriate region. Then there's text to the game master, whoever's going to run the campaign organizer, and text that should be appropriate for anybody who's going to play it. And then a region, a travel map for how the different adventurers, free blades, are going to move around in the campaign from scene to scene. This is a Tomb of Rashad travel map. Then more information about the campaign, loot that might be available, and different NPCs you might encounter that the players would know about. Now, if you look down here at the bottom, because I'm in my view as a member of the company, I can see what levels of access can see this. So Tomb of Rashad campaign is not at the free open level. It is Blade Sworn and above. Blade Sworn is our $3 a month level on Patreon, and Lore Master is the $9 and above a level on Patreon. So if you have one of those two levels, you would be able to see this. Blade Sworn is intended for the role player, the role-playing player, to get access to the Bright Sword rules and things about the world that a person who lived there would know. The Lore Master is intended for that person who wants a deeper dive into the background and access to the behind-the-scenes things that the player wouldn't know, so they can act as game master and put on these campaigns and reveal these things as the players encounter them. So while the campaign is at the Blade Sworn level, the different scenes are not. We're going to go to scene 2. So you get a map of the scene that you can port over, either use at your home or your game store if you're doing it live and in person, or nowadays it's even more important that we have a capability to do this online or virtually. There's a lot of different platforms out there for this. There is Roll20 is very common. We've had some of our players already running campaigns on Roll20. These maps are very easily portable into that platform, and so they can use them and move their adventurers around on them. World Anvil is partnering with a group known as Foundry Virtual Tabletop to provide a very similar capability. We're very excited about what they're talking about bringing to the table, and that will be integrated directly into or with World Anvil between those two organizations. And that's going to provide us some power for game masters to be able to put on. Whether the entire group is virtual or some of them are in the room with you as a game master and some are unable to make it there or at a remote location, you'll be able to do that however you want to do it. And so there's the place where the scene takes place, information about the scene for the game master. The stuff in the cutaway boxes is for the game master to impart to the players as they learn it, and then more information for the game master as the scene progresses. Who the NPC enemies are, how big the threat should be based on how big the party is. Information they encounter as they proceed, the loot they might find or items they might find lying around as they search and do discovery and investigation, and then any NPC stat lines that are appropriate for the NPCs that we recommend. Of course, it's your campaign. You're a game master running Tomb of Rashad, and you don't want to fill it with Cryogenic Revenants. That is your call, not ours. We're just giving you what the story would tell you would be there based on the history of the world of Faelon. There's some power here as well. We don't actually make a Cryogenic Revenant model yet, but we have this stat line here behind the Lore Master level, subscription level. I go down to the bottom. You see only Lore Masters are seeing the scene level of a campaign, so they can reveal it to their players, and the players aren't going to see all that straight up and not be surprised by it. And so the game master can introduce the Cryogenic Revenant as an enemy that even a Free Blades player would not have experienced yet because it's not in the game anywhere else but here right now. These stat blocks are portable all through World Anvil in terms of linking them to different articles and stories and ways you're going to do your gameplay. And they are somewhat interactive in that some of these key elements, these keywords, are linked to the text of their rule. So if I clicked on Undead as a link, it would take me to the rule for Undead and tell me how that rule played out in a gameplay context. What does Undead mean? It means the model is fearless and immune to certain other effects and is slow and whatever other effects Undead has. Same with Spirit and Harden and Die Hard. These talents and abilities and weapon abilities are all links, so you don't have to have the rule memorized. You can just pop over there. In this particular story, part of the scene is a competition between the free band that represents the party, the role-playing party, and an enemy free band that's after the same things in this setting. And we suggest some of the free bands that might be there to oppose the party in trying to accomplish their goal. And if you click on one of these, it will take you to that free band directly, and all the stat blocks for the characters in that free band. And those stat blocks include a cost that is a recruiting cost in Freeblades terms, if you were building a force in Freeblades to play the skirmish game. There's also their relative threat value, the equivalent of challenge rating in other games, as the game master determines whether the NPC actors he or she has in a scene are an appropriate challenge to the players the way the party is built. Now, those links go to different ones. So the game master is obviously given a choice what different NPC enemies would oppose them, and whichever one they choose, you can go link to that down here and get the stats directly in the same format. You can move around through the scenes. This link would take you back up to the main campaign article. This would take you to the scene right before it. This would take you to the scene right after it. There is a picture of what the structure of that campaign is. But up here on the right, I'll show you another little trick. You can get right up to the parent plot for here directly as well. Also, everything in here is also meant to support the gameplay of the skirmish game. It's not just for role players, because we want you to be able to access that if Freeblades is your favorite and that's what you want to spend all your time on. We also want you to be able to do that if you like using the power of this capability to move back and forth between the games. So what is this? This scene is suggesting that if you wanted to play it out not as a role-playing adventure, but as a Freeblades scenario, use the domination scenario from Freeblades and use this as your map, and the enemies that you see below as the opposing free band, or you could have two players play against each other. And so I could take this map, try to replicate this train as best I could with my train collection, put the loot on there that was out there, or whatever effects you wanted to have on the tabletop, and then play it as a domination scenario and have the same story being played out as well as you were doing it as a role-playing game. Okay, another function I want to show you real quick is the search function, which we find to be very powerful. And what I'm going to use as an example is some information that just went out today, information that's just out there now that wasn't out there 24 hours ago, and kind of a sneak preview for those who aren't at that level of access yet. I'm showing you really that all it takes is 3 letters worth of information on the name of the thing that you're searching for to get enough search returns to find what you are targeting. But also, I'm going to take you to a place that is brand new. So the city or town of Zilsa up in Kuzarl has just been loaded in today, and I can also show off a location and how locations work. So this is a setting that is going to be tied to an upcoming campaign that is about to get loaded, but you as a player can use this information for a number of other purposes. Understanding the background of the world that your setting is in, or you can set your own adventures, the ones that you designed that we didn't make, that you want to set in a particular place in Faelon. You have all the background information available. So this is a town inside Kuzarl. This is the main town map. One bad click there. There we go. So I cannot.
That one's in there as an image. You got to go to the map.
This here?
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you. I was being schooled. Okay. Click them on. That's what I was looking for. All right. So the map is Zilsa. It's interactive. Has a layers function. We're going to show you how that works in a second. But when it first comes up, it shows you the pinned locations inside Zilsa. So I see this beautiful town inside Kuzarl, one of our factions, one of our realms. And each of the locations has got a pin that will take me to that location and tell me all about it. But that view gets a little bit cluttered if there's a lot going on. And if I don't want to drive around to the pins, I go up here to the right to a layer function and take the pins off. But that doesn't tell me what these places are. It just shows me the pretty map, which is super pretty. I can go up here and click on the locations and get the names overlaid, so I can go focus in on what it is I was looking for and what location I want to zoom into and tell my story about, or set my campaign in, or meet an NPC there, or whatever the function is going to be. And then I can go in once I'm there and turn the locations off and be able to enjoy how the map looks, or put my characters on there on the map in my setting, however I want to do it. And also we have a grid setting over the top of it for scale. So that's the Zilsa map. Let's learn more about it. Where is it in the world? We know it's set inside the realm of Khazarl, but it's also in this regional map in the center, with all of these locations that we are going to tell stories about as we go along, and set campaigns in and put creatures in and NPCs and loot. And you'll be able to drive around all these different places and interact with them, learn about them, and have your gameplay attached to them. So there's another whole level there. This is where that town is, the center of this valley, but not the only feature of that valley, certainly. And this is what's going on inside the town of Zilsa. All different information about it. This is the parent faction. We'll go there in a moment. But I want to show you over here on the right. These links are in the sidebar are people, important people. We can go learn about them. We can learn about the capital city of the Free City of Khazarl. We can go directly to the faction information and learn all about where this setting is. And you can see that I can get the map to Khazarl. I can get the map to important regions directly from the faction page. So we've had the opportunity here to go through and look at all the different ways I can interact with this and go back and forth and connect the information I need to expand my gameplay, depending on which direction I want to go, which game I want to be playing. I decide I don't want to go to Zilsa. I want to go somewhere else, and I don't want to rely on whatever DGS wrote. I want to write my own. You've got plenty of adventure hooks and detail in here to put that depth to your story, however you want to do it. What religion are these folks? What kind of structure do they have to their government? What are some of the key players? And in addition, how do I interact with them by putting some of these characters on the tabletop? So this is a field agent, a member of this faction. Some background about her. She's a Path of the Mask character. That's what the model looks like. This is where you buy the model if you want one on our website. This is her stat block, and this is the elements of her stat block expressed as, the talents and abilities and skills. Put her in your adventure as an NPC. Be her as a character. Get her as part of your Freeblades Living Rulebook level for free because you have our Freeblades Living Rulebook. Look at all the professions that are in the Khazaric faction. As we move around, I think you're starting to see some of the power that we encounter here. So one last thing we're going to do before I turn it over to Julie. Go back to the home page. We talked about the different access levels. This level of information, especially the level that talks about the different factions, the countries, is at the free level. But beyond the free level, I have a lot of Freeblades gameplay level information at the Living Rulebook level, which you get the code for in your account when you have a Living Rulebook for Freeblades. Beyond that, you have to be a subscriber through Patreon. And you can get there from the World of Faelon link on our webpage, tgsgames.com, or you can get there by going and becoming a patron to this link. It takes you to our Patreon page, which will explain the different levels and how to access them and what the monthly subscription fee is, etc., here on our Patreon page. So if I wanted to know what the difference between the Blade Sworn level and the Lore Master level were, this is where I'd go to get that information. Which is cycling for some reason. What? Try that again. In one of those CBSIs, this is where, here we go. Okay, so we taking long. Something going on at Patreon today, I guess. So this is where you go as it cycles turned on. It will show you the detail of the Bladesworn and Lore Master levels, what you get, how to get that level of access, and by being a member, you get these teasers and other pieces of information that come up as we add them. And so this is where you learn all about that and become a patron and get that level of access. So World Anvil does not specifically give you those levels of access through the World Anvil page. You've got to come over to Patreon and be a patron. And then that, when you get that level of access through Patreon, it will tell you how to put in the code to get that level of access added to your World Anvil account. So you just got to come over to this page briefly to do that, and then you're all set. And when you go back, when you come into one of these pages, you get all the access. If you don't have access to something and you're following along, and I go into the campaign and I'm in the main campaign page and I go to a scene, but I don't have the access for the scenes yet, it will take you to a page that tells you how to go get that access. It's not going to leave you hanging with a 404. It's going to tell you the reason you can't see anything here is because you don't have access to it yet. You might also find a dead end because there are literally thousands of things in Faelon, and some of them are not complete yet. They're under construction. So you may run into a dead end, not because you don't have the right level of access, but because we are not done with it yet. Like I said, we've added, 80-something things to the World of Faelon just since the launch on June 24th, 55 of them today. And those things will become available to you as notifications across our social media. But since you're all on Discord with us today, you will get them in the hashtag World Anvil updates over on the left of your Discord screen, showing you all the different channels under the World of Faelon on Discord. One of them is hashtag World Anvil updates. They auto-populate when we update the World of Faelon and World Anvil. A bot will send an auto-update over here, so you can go ahead and run back through that and see, what showed up lately. What do I need to go and check on that I'm interested in because it was added. Okay, so that is what I had for you today. I'm going to turn you over to, here in a minute, just a minute, turn you over to my partner, Julie. Our partner, Julie, is going to take you through some of the game mechanics of our games by showcasing a demo of Freeblades. Please remember that all of our games use the same core tier dice mechanic. So her showing you how that mechanic works in Freeblades means you'll also know how it works in Brightsword and Free Captains and any other game we make. She's also going to show off those promo codes to you again, in case you're looking to get into the game of Freeblades to get a living rulebook, or get some of our models a little less expensively by getting a starter box, 20% off. She'll give you those codes as well. Before I turn it over to her, does anybody have any questions for me before I sign off and let her take the limelight? Okay, Julie, you are up. Take it away.
Thank you, John. I am here in upstairs DGS headquarters with my partner, Jennifer Felix. Jennifer is going to be moving the models around on the table for you. So if you see the video group and there's Jennifer's hand. And before we get started, oops, let me get over to my slideshow. Before we get started on the demo, just to reiterate the Gen Con specials that we've got running. So first of all, if you don't have a Freeblades Living Rulebook yet, you can get one by going to GC20-LRB or entering that coupon code. Now the way this works is you go to our website, you have to create an account because otherwise you wouldn't get the updates for free. So you create an account, purchase a Living Rulebook, and then when you go to checkout, you just enter that coupon code and you'll get it for free. You get all the updates for free. We have another special going on. GC20-20 is the coupon code for that, and that's going to give you 20% off any of our starter sets. So we've got 14 different starter sets that are available, normally $44.99. With this code, you're going to be getting them for $36. So we say Freeblades is a low price point to entry. because normally you can purchase a couple of normally priced starter sets for 2 players and a living rulebook and be into the game for under $100. You can get into the game for under $75 for 2 players by using these coupon codes. They do expire Tuesday midnight, so you want to make sure you get it done before then. Oh my goodness. And I'm showing an end of slideshow. That must have been. One moment, please. Here we go. I knew I had the expiration date on it. I was showing you the last slide instead of the first slide. Okay, so now we're going to talk about our Skirmish Game Free Blades, and this is just a quick demo of 1 turn in a Free Blades game, and it would be fairly advanced in that particular game. We're going to be playing with part of a starter box for both factions. And Free Blades is, you're going to be playing with 6 to no more than 18 models on a side. The starter set is a balanced playable free band of 6 or 7 models. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to tell you who we've got on the table, the sequence of a turn, and then we're going to dive in and roll some dice. And Jennifer's been working hard on her dice rolling skills. So we're hopefully going to see some good rolls today. Right, Jen? Okay, so on one side, we've got the Traserite Crusaders. This is our version of Roman gladiators on dinosaurs. So the Keshark is their leader. The Sunbringer is their caster. Packmaster is a hero. And the Legionnaire is a follower. So this is 4 out of the 6 models you would get in a starter set for the Traserites. Now you may notice that this is an all-male faction, and that's because the Traserite Empire is very patriarchal. They don't let women in the military, women can't serve in positions of authority, they can't own businesses. So on the other side, we have an all-female faction. This is the Eclipse Sisterhood, and it's the underground rebellion against the Traserites. So of all of our 15 factions that we have available, these are the 2 factions that hate each other the most. The Eclipse actually have a rule when they're engaged with the Traserites called Hate Traserites. And the Traserites have a rule in play when they're engaged with the Eclipse that's called Enraged. So they really are highly antipathic towards each other. The Nemesis is the leader for the Eclipse. The Sun Eater is their caster. Shadow Dancer is a hero. And the Throat Seeker is a follower. Again, 4 out of the 6 models that you would get in a starter set for the Eclipse. So the sequence of a turn in Free Blades. The events phase that determines who is going to be the first player that turn. Magic phase, movement, shooting, melee, and end phase. So for this demo, we're going to say that the Eclipse have 1 initiative, so the Eclipse are going to be first player for this demo. Now we're going to go on and do some magic. So the Sun Eater is going to attempt to cast a spell on the Keshark. To do that, we'll take a look at her spell list. Now this is a model stat card. All of the casters have a spell list card, and each individual model has their individual stat card as well, and you'll be seeing some of those displayed as we go on. Those model stat cards, if you remember John showing you our website, are available from the download section there. So these are free. The only product you have to buy, or the rules product that you have to buy to play Free Blades, is that living rulebook, and you use that coupon code. You don't even have to buy that. Okay, so the Sun Eater is going to attempt to cast a spell called Nullify Armor on the Keshark. That spell costs her 1 point of power, so that is the cost there in parentheses. of that particular spell. If she's successful, she's going to reduce that Keshark's armor from 5 all the way down to 2. So it's a pretty good spell if she can get it off. So she pays her 1 point of power, and then she rolls her caster rating, which is D10. Her target number is 2, so 2 or better. She rolls a 2. Pretty easy to cast a spell, right? The catch is that the Sunbringer is within counterspelling range, so he can attempt to block that spell. Now let's see how that works. The Sun Eater has void magic, which is a kind of energy magic. The Sunbringer has sun magic, which is a kind of spirit magic. So 2 kinds of magic in our world. If you're trying to counterspell the opposite kind of magic, you're not as familiar, so it's going to cost you 1 more power. So the Sunbringer is going to have to pay 2 power, and then he's going to roll his caster rating, which is also D10, and he's got to beat her roll in order to block her. And he rolls a 9, so he has successfully blocked her spell. So just to recap, to accomplish anything in our game, you're rolling to meet or exceed a target number. To block your opponent, such as with a counterspell, you have to beat their roll. Okay, now the Sunbringer gets to attempt to spell also. You may notice the Keshark has lost a life point in a previous turn. He only has 3 life points total, so the Sunbringer is going to use the spell called Salvation to try to heal that up. To do that, he's going to pay his last point of power. Now, both casters started with 15 power points, so this is towards the end of the game. He's going to pay that last point of power, then roll his caster rating, which again is D10. He gets a 6. The Sun Eater can attempt to counterspell that, but because she's the opposite kind of magic, it costs her 2 power. And then she's going to go back and roll her caster rating, which was also D10. And she's got to beat a 6, and she does with 7. So some pretty effective counterspelling on the part of both casters. None of those spells went off. And now we're going to go to movement. Now the Eclipse are going to move first because they have initiative, and they will move 1 model at a time, but you will see the opposite side has some reactions they can make, and you're going to see that right now. The Shadow Dancer is going to announce that she's charging the Packmaster. She says what she's going to do before she does it because he's got 3 options. He can stand there and take it. He can attempt to evade her, which is a discipline test, or he can countercharge, meet her in the middle. He's the Packmaster. He's a hero. He's not afraid of the Shadow Dancer. So he is totally going to countercharge her, and they will meet in the middle. And when that happens, they both get the benefit of the charge. Okay, let's see the other Eclipse models. Sun Eater likes where she is. The Nemesis is already engaged. Look at that Throat Seeker way over there. If you look at her card, 7 is the speed that she can move in inches. She can run up to twice that, but there's some limits in what you can do when you run. And normally you cannot run through windows and doors and things like that. The Throat Seeker has a talent called Free Runner. She's a little parkour expert, so she actually can. So she can see that Keshark through that building, run right through it, and engage that Keshark at a charge, pile on, and help her leader. And that is what she will do. And that's the end of the Eclipse movement. So let's go over to the Traserites for movement. Now the Keshark is already engaged. The Sunbringer likes where he is. Packmaster has already moved. The Legionnaire is going to come around and get within short throwing range of that Sun Eater because he can throw that Godaroo that he's holding, and that's going to bring up the shooting phase, which is next. So it's a 2-part process to do a wound, whether you're shooting or in melee. First you have to hit and then break armor. To hit, the Legionnaire is going to be rolling his ranged attack rating, which is D8. The target number is set by her defense, which is 4. So 4 or better. What'd you get? 8. Excellent. Roll again. 12. Okay, so 12 definitely beats or exceeds a 4, but let's talk about what just happened. So if you roll the top number on the die, we call it spiking. Some other games call it cascading or exploding. You get to roll again and add your results. You get to keep doing that as long as you roll the highest number on the die. And the game is always going to give you a benefit for a critical success, which is usually 10 over what you need. If you get multiple levels of critical, you get multiple benefits. Now, in this case, she rolled a total of 12, which is not 10 over what he needed to hit, but it's a definite hit. So he met or exceeded the target number of 4. So now we're going to go to damage. His damage roll is d6 plus 1. Oops. She rolled a 6 and then a 1. So 7 plus 1 is 8, so a total of 8. And the target number is set by her armor value. So 2 or better would do a wound, and she does have 2 life points to give. Now, because she's still got 1 life point, she's not dropped. And we do say drop, not dead in this game, because if you're playing in a campaign system, and we've got an awesome campaign system, you go to the end of your game and you roll on the casualty table to see if you're dead, if you took some permanent injury, or if you fully recovered. Now, could he have done more than 1 life point worth of damage? Yes, he could. We talked about the spiking dice and criticals. So if on his damage roll he had rolled a 6 and then another 6 plus 1, and then, well, what else would he have rolled? 6 plus 6, go ahead and roll another 6. And then a 1. Okay, 13 plus 1 is 14. Her armor value, again, was 2. That would have been more than 10 over what he needed in order to wound. And the benefit you get for critical damage is an extra life point loss. Now, if he'd kept going and kept rolling that 6 high enough and say he'd gotten all the way to 22 in his end damage, she only has 2 life points to give, but the game is always going to give you a benefit for critical success. So he would take those 2 life points, and then for that 3rd life point that you would have gotten normally with 22 points worth of damage, what he gets instead is a Fate Stone, which is going to give him a free reroll at some point later on in the game. And if you're playing in a campaign system, you can keep those Fate Stones to the end of the game, and you can reroll injury results, you can re-roll advancements, or if you don't use it for anything else, you can convert it into an adventure point, which will get you to your next advancement quicker. So you can always use a Fate Stone when you're playing in a campaign. Okay, that's the end of the shooting phase, and we're going to go to melee. So we've got 2 combats going on, this one and that one, and we're going to go back to the Shadow Dancer and the Pack Master first. So the first thing you do when you start a combat is figure out who is going first in that combat. Now, chargers are going to go before non-chargers, but they both charged. Then you look at discipline level. Shadow Dancer has D10 discipline. So does the Pack Master. This is going to be a simultaneous combat. Now, the way we simulate that to avoid confusion is we have the first player go, you completely resolve their attack, and then the second player goes. But even if the Shadow Dancer drops the Pack Master, he gets to attack back because it's simultaneous. So the effects are simultaneous. So let's go ahead and go with the Shadow Dancer and her melee attack rating of D10. Her target number is his defense of 4, so 4 or better. 4 hits. Now we're going to go to damage. D8 plus 1 more for the charge. 2, 3, 4. So that is going to be compared to his armor value of 3. So again, it's meet or exceed the target. That's going to do 1 wound. Except that he has a talent called Die Hard that says if he's about to lose a life point, he can make an endurance test with the target number 7 to ignore that loss. And he's got awesome endurance, D12. So he's got about an even shot of ignoring it. What does he roll? 7. So he gets to ignore that life point loss. So taking just a minute here, every model is rated in 6 different role-playing-like attributes. So endurance, strength, dexterity, agility, knowledge, and spirit. If you see it on the card, it's what it says. If it's not on the card, it goes to whatever their base ability is. And these attributes work together with the stat lines. So A normal hero is going to have 3 life points. I'm sorry, is going to have 2 life points unless they're a leader, in which case they have 3. The Packmaster has 3 because he has higher endurance. Normally, a Trident only does D8 plus 1 damage, but because he's got higher strength, it does D8 plus 2. And that's important because if you get into a campaign setting, again, you start increasing your attributes and you start impacting your stat lines, and your characters can get really salty in a campaign. Okay, the Packmaster gets to attack back. He's going to roll his melee attack rating of D10. Target number is 5. He gets a 6. Now the Shadow Dancer has parry 2, which means 2 times a turn she can attempt to replace her defense with a melee attack roll. So she can try to block that. Now you can only parry 1 attack once, but if she had 2 models on her or 2 different attacks, she could attempt to parry them both. But he rolled a 6. She's trying to beat it. She does not beat it. So that attack gets through. And now he is going to roll his damage, which is D8 plus 2 plus 1 more for the charge. 4, 5, 6, 7. Her armor value is just 3, so that was the target number, so that is going to do a wound. Okay, that combat is over. The Shadow Dancer has taken a wound, and the Packmaster has not. Normally, the side that takes the most wounds has to take a morale test. So the Shadow Dancer would normally be taking a morale test. However, remember that rule that I mentioned, how all the Eclipse hate Traserites? That rule says that they don't take morale tests for losing a combat. So she hates him so much, she's going to stay in the combat for the next turn. Okay, we're going to go to the next combat. Now in this combat, the Throatseeker charge. So she's going to go first. And then it's going to be simultaneous between the Nemesis and the Keshark because they both have D12 discipline as leaders. Before we go to the Throatseeker's attack, let's look at the Keshark's card. So he is normally a 5 defense, and that is because of his shield. That's an important distinction because if somebody was able to get into his rear arc, he would lose the benefit of that shield, so his defense would drop to 4. Now, another factor is that every model piled onto an enemy is going to drop their defense by 1. So because the Throatseeker joined her leader, she dropped his defense from 5 with the shield to 4 with the shield. And that's going to be her target number when she rolls her melee attack rating of D8. Whoops, roll it in. A 3. Roll that one more time, just for fun. Well, we're just going to let that go. The Keshark would have had to made a decision if she had hit to see if he wanted to parry her, but since she didn't get through, we're going to go ahead and go to the Nemesis. So this is the first part of that simultaneous combat. So even if she drops him, he gets to attack back. So she'll go first with her D12 plus 1. 4 is going to hit because he has that defensive 4 with his shield. So now the Keshark has not yet used his parry. He's going to attempt to block that 4. He does block it with the 10. So the Nemesis does not get through, so no reason to roll damage, and the Keshark is going to fight back. Okay, so the Keshark has got 2 models on him, a hero and a follower. The Keshark is a hero, and most heroes in our game have something called Hero's Honor. So if they're facing both a hero and a follower, they must attack the hero. It's the honorable thing to do. Now we've got a couple of factions that could care less about Hero's Honor. The bandits do not care, and the demons do not care. But this guy does, so he's going to attack the Nemesis. And he's got 2 attacks. So his Zakazit that he's wielding at a D12, and then the Velazar that he's riding bites with the D8 attack. So he's going to roll both attacks at once. Target number is her defense, which is 5. Jen, I thought we talked about this dice rolling. let's just help you out here. Oh, look, we've got 2 hits. The Nemesis, after is now going to use both of her parries to try to parry both of those. So parrying the 10, she gets a 3, so did not parry that. And parrying the 5, she does parry the 5. So one of those divinely interceded attacks does get through, and that was the Sakazit. So we'll go ahead and roll Sakazit damage, d8 plus 1. Her armor value is 3. 6 plus 1 is 7, so that's going to get through, and that would do 1 wound. Now, in that combat, the Eclipse lost 1 life point, and the Keshark lost none, because he came into that combat with a wound already on him. So normally, the entire side now would have to take morale tests. But again, because this is Eclipse versus the Traserites, the Eclipse do not take morale tests for losing combat. So we would go to the end phase. Now, in the Free Blades Living Rulebook, you're going to find 20 different scenarios. 3 of them are just meet in the middle and fight it out kinds of scenarios. The rest of them have more adventure-based objectives. So you're hunting for treasure, you're taking ancient trials, you are closing witch gates that are spawning demons. Some of that stuff happens in the end phase. So attempting to close a witch gate is an end phase action. If you don't get them closed, demons can come out as part of an end phase action. So you take care of any of that business, and then you assess for victory or game end conditions. So has one side won the scenario by the stated objective, because that's one thing that can end the game. Or has one or both sides broken, where half or more of your life points are off the table. That's another thing that can end the game. If none of that has happened, you go on and play another turn. Most games are played on a 4x4 surface and last around 90 minutes and are played 1 versus 1, but we've got a lot of scenarios that lend themselves very well to multiplayer game. There are some where you can have a third player doing the NPC. There are some games that are great for, many players. We've had as many as 12 people on a table at a time playing some of our scenarios. So there are some that are just great for that. Borax Horde is a great favorite when you've got a lot of people. And so that's our game. And these are our coupon codes, again, as a reminder. And does anybody have any questions? And you can put them in the All Things Faelon text channel, or you can just take yourself off mute to ask. Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Please, if you have any questions, you can certainly reach us after this presentation. You can reach us through any of these Discord channels. We also have a Facebook players, Free Blade Players Facebook page where a lot of our players engage with us, get rules questions asked and answered. So we love engaging with people that way as well. And I want to thank you very much for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your Gen Con online events.